Sir, of course, every day we're very happy to talk to you. We know these are very difficult times for your country, especially we think about the people of Ukraine and the ordeal they go through every day. But I have to ask you, at one point, this war is going to have to an end or come to an end. And of course, you're hoping for a diplomatic solution out of this. What is the state of play at this point? Because we hear a lot of contradictions between the Russian delegations and then the Ukrainian delegation and their take on things. Where are we now?
Well, thank you. First of all, as far as the negotiations are concerned, starting from the first round of negotiations, we were hoping that Russia would be constructive during the negotiations. If you remember, during the first rounds, they were just not mere listening to Ukrainians' position. Instead, they were only talking about their positions or ultimatums. Then they started to listen, to hear. Now we're in the fourth round of negotiations, but unfortunately, even those agreements which were reached during the negotiations are not fulfilled. I'm talking about humanitarian corridors, exactly about the humanitarian corridor from the city of Mariupol, which, functions not to the full extent. So whether Russian delegation is serious or it's dragging on the time for the currently, that's a big question, because, they were hoping to get much achievements on the ground within the 3 or 5 first days of war, and then to be with a strong negotiation position. So since they are failing now on the ground with their proclaimed goals, they are waiting what will happen next in order to strengthen their position. But the only serious negotiations could be on the level of presidents of Ukraine and Russia. My president keeps reiterating he's ready for negotiations. He's ready to sit at the negotiation table with President Putin, possibly with some other world leaders. But unfortunately, for the time being, we feel the lack of readiness from Putin himself to be the part of the negotiations.
And sir, you say that Russia is losing the ground or the war on the ground. I know a lot of this information is delicate and you can't disclose it, but when you look at the map of Ukraine, at this point, where is it that Ukraine is fighting back? Where are you trying to push back the Russian army, and what is the state of this army?
We'll give you two examples. Just yesterday, in the temporarily occupied port of Berdyansk, the city of Berdyansk in the south, in the Sea of Azov, we managed to blow up the big Russian transportation vessel carrying 400 manpower and several dozens of tanks and armored vehicles. This is the example that any city, even if besieged or temporarily encircled, occupied, does not under full control of Russian Federation. Yes, they try to install their administration. They try to arrest peaceful citizens. They try to deport peaceful citizens to Russia or to the uncontrolled parts of Ukrainian territory, just like it happened in Mariupol. But in vain, people are going out on the streets protesting against the Russian armed forces and occupation powers. As far as Kiev outskirts are concerned, also the situation is much better now, because we managed to take back some smaller cities and villages, and to reinforce our positions. So currently, I would say the war is about kind of position in war. They're trying to regroup their forces. They're trying to enrich the manpower, because with current amount of manpower, they will not be able to besiege any major city as they wanted to in the beginning.
And sir, on Sunday, Russia gave an ultimatum for Mariupol, saying stop the fighting, give your weapons, otherwise everyone will be tried by tribunal. And Ukraine said, we're not going to surrender any of our cities, and we're not going to engage on our territorial integrity. Is that still the thinking of the government? That you're not going to surrender anything, but for you also the territorial integrity, and of course I talk about Donbass, and particularly Mariupol with that corridor it could create to Crimea. Is that sacred for you? You're not going to give anything away?
Yes, absolutely. Position of the president and the government and all Ukrainian people, we will not surrender. We can surrender on only one case: if they kill all of us, if they, drop the last blood of the last drop of blood, Ukrainians will surrender. But never ever, not in Mariupol, not in any other smaller cities captured now, not in some encircled cities like Kherson. We will not surrender. We will fight till the end. As far as the territorial integrity of Ukraine, no, never. Yes, never we will trade away any part of Ukrainian territory, be it Ukrainian Donbass or be it Ukrainian Crimea. So this is not a negotiation position where we could meet their requirements.
And of course, we're on Bloomberg TV and radio, and we're speaking to Zhovkva, who is a key ally to President Zelensky. And the reason, sir, why I ask you this question is because today there was a report by the Turkish media suggesting that they had information that Ukraine and Russia had agreed on 5 points. And the only point of tension at this point was Crimea and Donbass. But based on what you say, you're not going to give anything away. This is not part of your peace deal. Is this report that was reported today by the Turkish media fake? Is it false?
Well, let's not comment the media reports in all the media they might appear. There is a principle in the diplomacy: nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. So no, I will not comment this. And once again reiterate, we will not trade away any single inch of Ukraine's territory.
And, sir, of course, there has been 2 very intense days of diplomacy here in Brussels with NATO and then, of course, with the European leaders. But I want to ask you about NATO. It is very clear, and your country now says this openly, we've had a brutal reality check. NATO is not going to help us on the ground. And, of course, maybe we may not have to apply for NATO membership because we're not going to get it. So if you don't get NATO, what else do you want to get? And the question, of course, here is, if you don't have NATO, then are you going to double down for EU membership? You want to be part of a member of the European Union for a peace deal to come to fruition?
Absolutely. If NATO is not ready to accept Ukraine, a strong Ukraine, a Ukraine with strong armed forces like we can see. So my president told to NATO members, please do not tell me now about non-adherence of Ukrainian armed forces to NATO standards. We proved that the Ukrainian armed forces are of highest standards. So yes, I mean, we feel the reality. If NATO is ready, then Ukraine will not knock on the closed door. My question is whether NATO is capable to defend even its own member states. I mean, let's not talk about Ukraine, but let's talk about eastern flank members of NATO. But right you are, we are absolutely putting our hope on having the EU membership. My president applied with the application on the end of February. Today we're having the mid of March, and we want this application to be delivered and to be processed in a very high speed, because we don't have enough time for usual type of bureaucracy or whatever. So we're thankful for yesterday's decision of the European Council to reinforce or to reiterate its appeal to the Commission to start the process of preparing the opinion. But once again, we are talking to all the leaders of the European Union members. Please do not drag on the time. Ukraine is fighting now. Ukraine is fighting not only for itself but for all the European countries. We are on the home front. So please, Ukraine deserves to be a part of the European family. And what Ukrainians doesn't deserve, and Ukrainian people do not deserve, is to dig our application in the bureaucracy routine or some reflection period. So yes, we are ready to become a member of the European Union as soon as possible.
So, sir, just to make it very clear, because this is very important, especially here in Brussels, you've made it clear you don't trust the Russians. You always cite the Budapest Memorandum. You say you gave a lot away for nothing. Russia is a country that you do not trust. So I wonder, in that international peace deal, security guarantees that you want, are you going to insist that EU membership is part of that deal?
Absolutely. Membership of Ukraine to the EU is a part of our security guarantees. But secondly, we want to have a set of security guarantees from the world leaders, such as US, United Kingdom, Germany, France, and Turkey, to guarantee that the aggression against my country or any other European state or international partners will not happen in future. Because right here we had this piece of paper, this Budapest Memorandum, which never worked, neither in 2014 when Russia started its aggression, nor in 2022 when they started an open war. So we do not need another Budapest Memorandum. We need a strict, hard security guarantees, a system, if you will, of security guarantees, a new system of security in Europe, if you will. Ukraine should be in a cornerstone of the security system. And yes, we are already negotiating with our partners to think about possibility of establishing such kind of guarantees.
And sir, a lot of this, of course, hinges on the Russian side, too. And Vladimir Putin, at this point, is very difficult to figure out what he wants, because we barely hear from him. But today he did repeat this line: our goal, our military goals will be completed, and in particular, the liberation of the Donbass. When you hear that, what does it mean? What is it that he wants? Is it just about eastern Ukraine? Are they changing their military goals because this war is not going well for Russia?
Well, it's hard to comment Mr. Putin. He can only comment probably himself. No one else, even in Russia, could exactly know what does it mean. But look, just to remind you, they started from Donbas. They started from Donbas 8 years ago, and they didn't even manage to capture the whole part of Donbas. Now, if he's saying this, that clearly means he's failing with his original goals. But even as far as Donbas is concerned, we will not let him fulfill this goal. Donbas is Ukrainian territory and will always be.
And sir, when he says another thing that I want is that the rights of Russian people are protected in Ukraine, in this country that he believes in many ways is historically connected to Russia, and the Ukrainians or Russians are one people. Is that something that for you could be a problem to concede that perhaps the Russian speakers or Russian background in Ukraine should be treated differently to Ukrainians?
No, we absolutely, as far as the rights of people are concerned in Ukraine, be it Russians, Ukrainians, Jewish, Poles, Crimean Tatars, all the rights of these people are absolutely treated equally, was, were, are, and always be. So this is absolutely artificial prerequisite for his campaign, for his war against Ukraine. And we do not break. We have to adhere to all the international treaties as far as the language is concerned, as far as the education is concerned, as far as the culture is concerned. We were treating absolutely rightfully the people in the Crimea. So please do not follow this narrative. It's absolutely no problem for guaranteeing the human rights in Ukraine.
So that wouldn't be a problem. And of course, the other big question is the Russian oligarchs. There has been a lot of debate about how powerful they are and what kind of influence they have on Vladimir Putin. And in particular, we hear always the name of Roman Abramovich. Is he participating actively, speaking with you and the Russians to try to get to a diplomatic solution? Is Abramovich really playing a role in this?
Well, I do not want to comment the rumors which are now in the press, but I will answer you like this. Any help of any individual or any international leader to bring peace to Ukraine is absolutely valuable.
And of course, yesterday we heard from the President of the United States say we are not going to actively participate in the war, but we want to help Ukraine. And there's already weapons on the way to Ukraine. Are you seeing these weapons, and how bad do you need them? Because, of course, a war, it really does reduce a lot of resources. It's very intensive when it comes to the weapons. When are you receiving any of this?
Well, yes, we're thankful to our Western partners, to the US and other countries. Yes, we're receiving the weapon. It's not enough. It's too slow, but that's what we need and what will be further need. Definitely, I will not comment here about concrete pieces and items and amounts and volumes, but without the support of our Western partners, it would be much more difficult for us to struggle. And I'm talking not only about ground weapons, so anti-tank, surface-to-air missiles, but about air defense capability. That's what we really need also, because we have to close our sky, and any possibilities such as fighter jets, such as anti-air warfare system or anti-missile warfare systems are of importance for us.
And sir, I know this is a very difficult question to answer, but as my last question to you, it's been a month of war. You make it clear you're not going to trade Donbas, that for you, Crimea definitely is Ukraine, that a corridor in Mariupol is something you're not going to accept either. And you also say that negotiations are still at a point where the two sides are far apart. And you have weapons and you want to continue to fight. So how long can this war continue to go on? For we have heard from some members of your own delegation that Ukraine believes that the fight could possibly continue until the end of April before it settles to the actual talks.
Well, let's not speculate about the terms of war. We are ready to end this war today or tomorrow. We are ready for peace negotiations. We will struggle. We will struggle till the victory. Not ever and never ever we will surrender, neither in the city or the part of Ukraine or generally in Ukraine. Definitely, all the people of Ukraine, the leadership of Ukraine.
And this is very important. And sir,
Sorry?
And if I could just interrupt you just very briefly, what you say to us is that the West is interpreting what's happening in Ukraine wrong, that you don't want just any peace deal, you don't want just any ceasefire. What you say is that you're convinced you can win this war, so you're going to fight as long as needed.
Yes, absolutely. We will not don't want the peace agreement on the Russian terms. They wanted us to have a peace agreement on the Russian forms at the beginning. They wanted all their provisions to be implemented, all their demands and red lines. No, we don't have any agreement, any peaceful agreement, or the peaceful agreement at any terms. We will want the peaceful agreement at Ukrainian terms, because we are struggling, we are surviving, we will win.
Well, sir, thank you so much as always. We appreciate your time. And of course, it seems silly to say this, but of course, stay safe in such a difficult time for Ukraine. Guys, back to you.
You might hear the sirens in the air, right? So I have to go to the shelter.